I was talking to a friend of mine about the mind, psychology, mindset. I'm on this journey where I'm aggressively adjusting my mindset. I'm actively aware of my emotions right now. And here's what I realized. My emotions were controlling me, making me emotional, making me hesitate. So I decided something radical. I'm completely disobeying my emotions if they don't align with my agenda. We obey our emotions way too much. Fear tells you not to start. Doubt tells you you're not ready. Anxiety tells you to wait until tomorrow. And we listen like our emotions are some wise advisor. They're not. They're interference. And I'm done obeying interference. Now, I'm not here to give you a bunch of motivational words. I know massive action is the only route that works because I've done the massive thinking and the massive inaction and I didn't like the results. So having conversations like this with my friends is interesting. Birds of a feather flock together, right? But here's the problem. Most of us don't 100% trust ourselves. Even though we have our own philosophies, we don't push our philosophy. We look to adopt someone else's. So I went down a rabbit hole. First, I studied Miyamoto Musashi. We talked about him in episode 3, the lonely samurai who died in a cave after killing 60 men. But then I stumbled onto a different type of legend, Niccolò Machiavelli. And I'm starting to get jealous of these legends. I want to be a legend too, goddammit. I don't know how these guys get so famous and obtain this legendary status. I'm investigating that as we speak. Everyone knows about Machiavelli. One of my favorite artists, Tupac Shakur, named one of his albums Machiavelli, one of my favorite albums. He named himself Machiavelli on that project, and for some reason, I automatically respected Mr. Machiavelli without knowing his backstory, who he was, or how he lived as a man. I just like the name, Machiavelli. It's exotic to us. It sounds powerful. Of course, he has a book. I remember getting it on my Kindle. It's called The Prince. Very short book. I was so excited to read it, and I couldn't believe how short it was. But before you read the book, the legend of Machiavelli is huge. I thought I saw a statue of him one time. After getting through his book, I wasn't impressed, but it wasn't enough. I wanted to know, how did he get legend status? What is it that everyone likes about his book that makes someone like me, who doesn't even know him, who didn't study him in school, automatically have so much respect for him? It doesn't make sense, but once I go down a rabbit hole, I just want to know certain things because we're all trying to improve our lives. We want the edge. We want to read that book that's going to change our lives. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to say, oh my God, because of this book, I am the master at what I do. This book changed my life and outlook. This book had all the answers I needed. I think that's what we look for when we're reading these books and listening to these legends. So if you didn't know, I'm going to tell you about the real Machiavelli, the part that isn't romanticized or even talked about. Why do I want to talk about the parts of the legend that people try to leave out? For one reason and one reason only. These people were human with problems just like me and you. Machiavelli is worshipped like some political genius, like he cracked the code on power and leadership. But let me tell you what they don't tell you. Niccolò Machiavelli was born in 1469 in Florence, Italy. Renaissance era. Political chaos everywhere. Families fighting for power. Governments changing overnight. He worked as a government official, a diplomat. He got to observe powerful rulers across Europe, kings, generals, politicians, And he started forming his own ideas about how power really works. Then he wrote The Prince, a short book, barely 100 pages, a guide for rulers on how to gain and keep power. Sounds impressive, right? Here's what they don't tell you. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince, he wasn't some powerful leader sitting on a throne dispensing wisdom. He was broke, exiled, out of power. The Medici family had returned to power in Florence and kicked him out of his government position. Then they accused him of conspiracy. They arrested him, interrogated him, briefly imprisoned him. The man who wrote the ultimate guide to political power couldn't even keep his own job. Let that sink in. He spent years after that living in the countryside, isolated, frustrated, writing letters to anyone who would listen, begging to be brought back into politics. Nobody cared. So he wrote The Prince partly as a desperate attempt to impress the Medici family. He even dedicated the book to them, hoping they'd read it and say, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. Let's bring him back. Guess what happened? Nothing. They ignored him. The man who taught rulers how to control nations never managed to control his own political destiny. He died in 1527, still out of power, still ignored by the very people he tried to impress. So when you read The Prince and you see all these confident statements about how rulers should act, remember, this was written by a frustrated, bitter man watching from the sidelines. Not a king, not a general, a political reject. Now, does that mean his ideas are worthless? No, but it does mean we should stop worshiping him like he had it all figured out. Let's talk about what's actually in the book. The Prince is a short guide on how rulers should gain and maintain power. And Machiavelli's main argument is this: it's better to be feared than loved. He believed people are unpredictable. Love can disappear quickly, but fear keeps people obedient. He also said rulers should be willing to lie, manipulate, and act cruelly if it helps them stay in control. Morality, not important. Virtue, overrated. What matters is power. This shocked people even in his own time. For centuries, philosophers and religious thinkers had argued that leaders should rule with virtue, compassion, and justice. Machiavelli said, forget all that. Do whatever it takes to win. And that's why the word Machiavellian today means manipulative, ruthless, willing to deceive for personal gain. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Machiavelli may have simply been describing the world as he saw it. During his lifetime, he witnessed betrayal, war, political conspiracies, powerful families using harsh tactics to protect their influence. He believed leaders who ignored these realities would lose. So was he teaching cruelty or just exposing it? That's the debate. Some people say he was warning us, showing us how dark politics can get. Others say he was encouraging it, giving rulers permission to abandon morality in pursuit of power. Either way, here's what I know. When you build a system on fear and manipulation, trust disappears. Governments become unstable. People start looking for ways to resist or escape. Fear works short term, but long term, it destroys. And that's the danger of Machiavelli's philosophy. It trades long-term stability for short-term control. Here's what gets me. Machiavelli wrote one short book, failed politically, died frustrated and ignored. But 500 years later, everyone knows his name. Tupac named an album after him. Politicians quote him. Business leaders study him. A guy who failed at the thing he was teaching became a legend. And that makes me realize something. If he can become a legend, So can I. So can you. He wasn't special. He wasn't blessed with some unique talent. He didn't have resources or connections that saved him. He just wrote. He shared his philosophy. He left something behind. And centuries later, people are still talking about it. So here's my philosophy. Stop waiting for permission to be legendary. Stop thinking you need to be perfect before you create something. Machiavelli's book isn't even that good. It's short, it's harsh, it's controversial, but it exists. And that's more than most people ever do. We waste time waiting to feel ready, waiting to be inspired, waiting for the perfect moment. Machiavelli didn't wait. He was bitter, broke, and desperate, and he still wrote. So what's your excuse? Thank God these legends left books for us to read. Thank God they shared their philosophies, their fantasies, their peace of mind with us. We're blessed to have access to this content. But here's what we need to stop doing. We need to stop worshiping these people. We need to stop putting them on pedestals like they're untouchable. They were human, with problems, with failures, with insecurities. Machiavelli wasn't some superhuman genius. He was a guy trying to figure life out just like you. Musashi wasn't some enlightened sage. He was a traumatized loner who turned pain into mastery. These legends aren't special because they were born different. They're special because they did something with what they had, and you can too. From now on, we're going to do our own background check on these so-called legends. We're going to stop looking up to all these people just because we were raised to do that. We were raised to look up to superheroes. We weren't raised to be the superhero. We were raised to look at their superpowers and abilities and then feel less of ourselves. That stops now. We should stop respecting any emotions or thoughts that go against our desires. As I'm doing this research and putting this content together, I'm realizing our own mind might be the final frontier. It's this untapped source of power that we don't even try to figure out. Why? Because there's no gym for the mind. There's no course that teaches you how to control your emotions, understand your mind, and deal with the hard realities of life. Sometimes we experience a setback and we don't know what to do. We freeze. We dwell on it. We replay it over and over in our heads. We get depressed. We waste time. The key is to keep going. Even though your mind is screaming, this will never work. You're wasting your time. You're not smart enough. You're just as human as Machiavelli. And Machiavelli was flawed. So if he can become a legend, so can you. Here's what I suggest. Step 1, read Machiavelli's book. It's called The Prince. It's short. You can finish it in a day. There's an audio book if you prefer listening. Read it, study it, understand what made him famous. Step 2, read his backstory. Find out what type of guy he really was. The failures, the frustrations, the desperation. Step 3, after you close that book, say to yourself, I'm a legend too. Not someday, not when you're ready, now. The 30-day challenge. Pick one thing you've been avoiding because your emotions told you not to do it. Fear, doubt, anxiety, whatever. For the next 30 days, do that thing every single day. Disobey your emotions. Disobey the interference. Do it even when your brain is screaming at you to stop. Track it. Write it down. Make it public. And at the end of 30 days, look back and realize you just proved you can control your mind instead of letting it control you. We should look at Machiavelli and say, if he wrote a book, I'm going to write one too. I'll write 2 books compared to his one and see if I can become a legend. Let's start stacking wins. Get to the point where you become numb to 30-day challenges, where nothing freaks you out anymore. Whatever freaks you out is what you should relentlessly attack. We need to have fun with this. Freak yourself out for 30 days. Machiavelli failed at politics, but he became a legend anyway. Musashi died alone in a cave, but he became a legend anyway. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. Read The Prince, study the legend, then become one yourself. Comment below what you're committing to for the next 30 days. Let's see who's still here on day 30. Let's go, baby.